The Voxari were terrified that monstrous humans would annihilate them if the truth slipped out. That was why they hid from Earth and conspired to keep the bloodthirsty human race caged on their backwater planet. But their suppressed secret was about to explode into the open. When Jordan Murray's solo exploration mission in the outer solar system stumbled upon that advanced alien probe, he had no idea the dire warning it contained would shatter his reality. The probe's message from Voxari leader Merrick rocked him to his core. The Voxari considered humans an existential threat to the entire galaxy. Too violent, destructive, and unpredictable to be allowed to run rampant among the stars. Jordan pored over the probe's data archives with a growing sense of shock and outrage. He saw the Voxari's far-reaching conspiracy to confine humanity to Earth and restrict human technology. A cold fury gripped him as he realized what this meant. The Voxari and other alien civilizations were determined to forever deny humans their rightful destiny in the cosmos. The probe painted a clear picture of why the Voxari feared humanity so deeply. They were a peaceful, highly intelligent species who abhorred conflict and bloodshed. In the face of humanity's savage history of war, conquest, exploitation, and ruin, the physically weaker Voxari felt they had no choice but to quarantine the human threat by any means necessary. A sinking feeling hit Jordan as the weight of it crashed down on him. He was just one man who had stumbled onto this monumental secret. The future of the entire human species hung in the balance. He had to find some way to reach the Voxari, to convince them that humans weren't the genocidal monsters they believed. Jordan would do anything to open a dialogue and prove that humans and Voxari could coexist in peace. He knew the odds against him were astronomical. The vast distance to the Voxari homeworld, their superior technology, their implacable conviction that humans had to be contained at all costs. Jordan had only his raw human determination and his desperate need to secure humanity's rightful place among the stars. Gripping the alien probe, he fired up his ship and plotted a course back to Earth. Jordan steeled himself for the monumental task ahead, to rally humanity to his cause and mount an expedition to confront the Voxari, to convince them that humans weren't the enemy. The future of the human species depended on it. No matter what it took, no matter the cost to himself, Jordan vowed that he would open the Voxari's eyes to the truth about humanity, or die trying. Jordan races back to Earth, pushing his ship to its limits. The alien probe sits secured in the cargo hold, its secrets waiting to be unlocked. As soon as he lands, Jordan rushes the probe to his private lab. He works frantically to interface with the advanced Voxari systems, driven by a desperate need to understand their technology and find a way to reach them. Days turn into weeks as Jordan pores over the alien data, barely sleeping or eating. He keeps his discovery tightly under wraps, trusting no one with the knowledge that could send shockwaves across the planet. Jordan knows he has to handle this carefully. If the governments get wind of what he's found, they'll seize control, and humanity's fate will be out of his hands. Jordan leverages his extensive contacts in the private space sector, quietly assembling a cadre of brilliant engineers and scientists he knows he can trust. They work covertly in Jordan's secluded facility, racing to dissect the Voxari technology and unlock its potential. Progress is slow and frustrating until a breakthrough finally comes. Buried deep within the probe's crystalline data cores, they discover fragments of star maps and tantalizing hints of spatial coordinates. Jordan becomes convinced these are the key to locating the Voxari homeworld. He pushes his team harder than ever, pouring every resource into constructing an experimental ship capable of interstellar flight. Jordan grows increasingly paranoid, plagued by fears that the Voxari are somehow watching, preparing to intervene. He starts at shadows, seeing their hand in every setback and delay. The pressure builds as Jordan drives his people to the brink, determined to succeed before the Voxari can stop them. Months later, the fruits of their labors stand ready in the cavernous hangar. Sleek and alien, the Odyssey looks unlike anything built by human hands. Jordan christens the ship himself, his hand trembling as he smashes the champagne bottle against the gleaming hull. Jordan handpicks the crew for the momentous voyage, selecting only those he trusts implicitly. His old friend Jake Ryder is an easy choice for pilot, one of the few people Jordan knows will follow him to the end, no matter how far. The night before launch, alarms blare throughout the facility, shattering the tense calm. Jordan rushes to the command center, his stomach knotted with dread. The long-range sensors show an unknown contact approaching Earth at impossible speeds. The readings are unmistakable. It has to be the Voxari. Jordan slams his fist on the console, his heart pounding. They're out of time. The crew scrambles to make final preparations for liftoff, each second feeling like an eternity. Jordan stares at the ominous blip on the displays, his mind racing. If they wait, the Voxari ship could get here in time to stop their mission before it begins. It could already be too late. Every instinct screams at Jordan to launch now while they still have a chance, but he hesitates, torn by indecision. What if this is their one opportunity to make contact, to start a dialogue before the gulf between their races grows too vast to bridge? The command center holds its breath, every eye locked on Jordan. The incoming ship looms closer on the displays, an inexorable countdown to an unknown fate. Jordan closes his eyes, the weight of two civilizations pressing down on him. He sees the faces of every man, woman, and child on Earth, the entire future of his species resting in his hands. With a last tortured breath, Jordan makes his choice. Launch! Now! The words are barely a whisper, but they echo like thunder in the sudden silence. A heartbeat passes, then the room explodes into motion. Warning klaxons howl as the Odyssey's engines flare to life. The ship lifts on a pillar of blinding plasma, clawing its way up through the atmosphere. Jordan can only watch as the Odyssey dwindles to a faint star against the endless black of space. Then, in a burst of searing quantum radiance, the ship leaps forward and vanishes into the void. The Odyssey hurtles through the shimmering hyperspace conduit, traversing light years with every passing second. The crew sits strapped into their acceleration couches, skin pulled taut by the bone-crushing G-forces. Jake pushes the alien engines to their redline limit, far beyond what any human craft has ever attempted. Jordan stares into the undulating, multi-hued tunnel surrounding the ship, praying their bold strategy will be enough. He knows they're committed now, racing across the galaxy to a distant star orbited by a world no human has ever seen. All he can do is hope they can reach the Voxari in time, before the fate of two races is sealed forever. The Odyssey streaks onward, carrying the slender thread of Jordan's hopes and humanity's future to the far side of the cosmos. There can be no going back. One way or another, Jordan will have his confrontation with the Voxari, even if he has to chase them to the ends of the universe to get it. The Odyssey burst out of hyperspace, alarms blaring as the sensors lit up with countless red blips. Jordan's heart raced as he took in the massive Voxari fleet arrayed before them. "Holy shit," Jake whispered from the pilot's seat. "There's got to be hundreds of ships out there." Jordan gripped the command console, his mind racing. A frontal assault would be suicide. Then he remembered Axel, the Voxari defector they'd rescued from the space station. "Axel, we need options. Any weaknesses in their defenses?" The lanky alien's eyes darted across the tactical display. "There. An old supply route. Rarely used now. We might slip through undetected." It was a desperate gamble, but their only shot. Jordan gave the order, and Jake sent the Odyssey diving towards the gap in the Voxari line. For agonizing minutes, they crept through the defensive grid. Jordan held his breath, certain that at any moment they'd be discovered. But somehow, impossibly, they made it through. The Voxari homeworld loomed before them, a shimmering blue-green jewel. They'd done it. They'd reached. Proximity alarms shrieked. Voxari fighters pounced from all sides, energy beams slicing through space. "Evasive maneuvers!" Jordan shouted. The Odyssey jinked and rolled, Jake's piloting skills put to the ultimate test. Jordan fired up the weapon systems, praying the experimental tech would hold up. To his shock, their first salvo blew apart two Voxari ships. The alien fighters scattered, clearly caught off guard by the humans' firepower. But there were too many. Hits rocked the Odyssey, systems failing. Jordan saw the Voxari flagship bearing down on them. In desperation, he diverted all power to weapons and fired. The blast caught the flagship dead center. Its engines flared and died, the massive ship listing. Chaos erupted among the Voxari forces. "Now's our chance," Jordan bellowed. "Take us in." Jake complied, aiming the battered Odyssey at the planet's surface. They plunged through the atmosphere, the hull glowing cherry red. Jordan was rattled violently in his restraints as Jake fought for control. With a bone-jarring impact, they slammed into the ground. For a moment, all was still. Then Jordan heard the hiss of the airlock. They'd made it. Stumbling out of the smoking wreck, Jordan's elation faded as he found himself staring down the barrels of dozens of Voxari weapons. This was it. They'd come so far, only to fail at the final hurdle. "Wait!" a familiar voice rang out. Axel pushed through the soldiers, arms raised. "These humans come in peace. You must listen to them." The Voxari hesitated. Jordan seized his chance, stepping forward with hands raised. "Please, we've come to talk, to find a way for our peoples to coexist." Long moments passed. Then a Voxari in ornate robes gestured. "Bring them. The High Council will hear their words." Jordan's legs trembled as he was led into an enormous chamber. Alien faces regarded him from all sides. He swallowed hard and began to speak. "People of Voxar, I stand before you not as an enemy, but as a fellow sentient being seeking understanding. Humanity does not desire conflict. We wish only for our rightful place among the stars." Jordan spoke for what felt like hours, pouring out everything he'd learned about the Voxari, appealing to their better nature. Some counselors sneered, but others leaned in, listening intently. When he finished, silence reigned. Then one counselor stood. "You have given us much to consider, human. We offer a temporary peace, that we may learn more of each other." Jordan's knees nearly buckled with relief. It wasn't a final victory, but it was a start. In the days that followed, he threw himself into learning all he could about Voxari society. Their technology was breathtaking, but it was their history that truly shocked him. Axel led him through virtual recreations of ancient battles, entire worlds laid waste. "We were monsters," Axel said softly. "We nearly destroyed ourselves, and so we vowed to never let it happen again, to us or any other species." Jordan's mind reeled. The Voxari's actions, their fear of humanity, it all made a twisted kind of sense. "But surely you see that humanity isn't doomed to follow the same path," Jordan argued. "We can learn from your mistakes, grow beyond our violent impulses, but only if you give us the chance." Axel nodded slowly. "Perhaps. It will not be easy to convince my people, but I believe it is worth trying." And so Jordan and Axel set to work, reaching out to both humans and Voxari, seeking to build bridges of understanding between their two species. It would be a long road, but for the first time, Jordan dared to hope that a shared future was possible. Jordan sat across from Axel in a dimly lit chamber deep within the Voxari capital. Holographic displays flickered around them, showing data on both human and Voxari cultures. Jordan leaned forward, eyes intense. "We need to find common ground, Axel. Something both our species can relate to." Axel's multifaceted eyes blinked rapidly. "Perhaps our shared experiences of loss and conflict. Both our peoples have known war." Jordan nodded, tapping commands into a nearby console. "Good. Let's compile historical accounts, personal stories. We'll present them side by side, show how similar we really are." As they worked, a commotion erupted outside. The door slid open, revealing Elder Praxer flanked by armored guards. His voice crackled with barely contained rage. "Enough of this farce. You've manipulated us long enough, human." Jordan stood, hands raised. "Elder Praxer, please. We're trying to build understanding between our—" "Silence!" Praxer's tentacles writhed. "You're nothing but a spy, gathering intel for your invasion force." Axel stepped between them. "That's absurd. Jordan came here seeking peace. He's risked everything." Take them! Praxer barked. The guards surged forward, energy restraints humming to life. Jordan felt the cold bite of alien metal around his wrists. He locked eyes with Axel as they were roughly shoved from the room. "Don't give up," he whispered. "We'll find a way." The Voxari prison loomed before them, a twisting mass of crystalline structures that pulsed with an eerie inner light. Jordan stumbled as the guards pushed him through force field after force field, each one stripping away another layer of his defenses. Finally, they reached a bare cell. The energy barriers snapped into place behind them with a sizzling hiss. Jordan slumped against the wall, mind racing. He glanced at Axel, who looked equally shaken. "We can't let it end like this," Jordan muttered. Axel's antenna twitched. "It won't, look." He gestured subtly toward a shadowy corner. Jordan squinted, making out the faint outline of a small device. "A comm link," Axel whispered. "Left by sympathizers. We're not alone." Over the next weeks, they worked tirelessly. Jordan tapped into his knowledge of Voxari systems, while Axel used his connections to recruit allies. They whispered plans in the dark, always wary of prying eyes. The day of the breakout arrived. Jordan's heart pounded as he activated the stolen override codes. The cell's force field flickered and died. They slipped out, moving swiftly through the twisting corridors. Alarms blared. Jordan ducked as energy bolts sizzled past. "This way!" Axel hissed, yanking him into a maintenance shaft. They emerged into a vast cavern, the underground city stretching out before them. Axel led them through winding streets and hidden passages. Finally, they reached a nondescript building. Inside, dozens of Voxari waited, eyes gleaming with hope. "Welcome," one stepped forward. "I'm Zix. We've been waiting for you." Jordan gazed at the assembled aliens. "You're all part of the resistance?" Zix nodded. "We believe in a different future, one where our peoples stand together." In the days that followed, Jordan and Axel worked feverishly. They crafted messages of unity, weaving together the shared histories of their species. When all was ready, they gathered around the broadcast equipment. "Now," Jordan said, taking a deep breath. Axel's tentacle hovered over the activation switch. "For both our peoples!" The signal went out, hijacking comm channels across the planet. Jordan's voice rang clear. "People of Voxar, I come to you not as an enemy, but as a fellow being seeking understanding. Our species have more in common than you know." As the broadcast continued, tension gripped the room. Would anyone listen? Or had they risked everything for nothing? Suddenly, the comm channels exploded with responses. Voxari from all walks of life, expressing support, asking questions. The resistance members cheered. But their celebration was short-lived. The door burst open, revealing Praxer's elite forces. Energy weapons hummed to life. "Surrender now," the lead soldier growled, "or face immediate termination." Jordan's mind raced. They were so close. He couldn't let it end here. "Wait," he shouted. "Let us speak. Let the people decide." The soldier hesitated, his weapon wavering. In that moment, Jordan knew their message had reached even the hardliners. The tide was turning. As they were escorted to the capital, crowds gathered, not to jeer, but to cheer. The streets filled with Voxari demanding change. Jordan and Axel stood before the High Council, surrounded by a sea of supporters. Praxer glowered from his seat, but even he could see the writing on the wall. "The people have spoken," Axel declared. "It's time for a new way forward." The vote was swift. Praxor and his hardliners were removed from power. Axel was elected to lead a new, progressive council. In the days that followed, Jordan worked tirelessly alongside his Voxari allies. They drafted the first official agreements between their species, laying the groundwork for a shared future. But challenges remained. As Jordan walked the streets, he still saw fear in some eyes. Old prejudices died hard. He knew the real work was just beginning. Jordan paced the sleek corridors of the newly constructed Voxari Human Research Center, his footsteps echoing softly against the polished floors. Axel's tentacles tapped rapidly on a holographic interface, sifting through mountains of data. We're making real progress, Jordan said, pausing to examine a 3D projection of intertwining DNA strands, human and Voxari. Who would have thought our species could work together so seamlessly? Axel's multifaceted eyes blinked in agreement. Indeed, the advancements we've made in just a few months are truly... A sharp ping interrupted them. A young human scientist burst into the room, face flushed with excitement. Sirs, you need to see this immediately. They hurried to the main lab, where a team of human and Voxari researchers huddled around a central console. The air crackled with tension. What is it, Dr. Chen? Jordan asked, leaning in to examine the display. We were analyzing some anomalous stellar readings when we found this. She tapped a command, and a cascade of alien symbols flooded the screen. Axel's tendrils quivered. That's not Voxari. No, Dr. Chen said, her voice barely above a whisper. It's not from any known civilization. The data suggests it's millions of years old. Jordan's mind reeled as they delved deeper into the discovery. Ancient star charts, impossible technologies, and most shocking of all, evidence of large-scale genetic manipulation across countless worlds. My God, Jordan breathed, staring at a diagram showing clear links between Earth, Voxar, and dozens of other planets. They created us, all of us. Axel's normally composed demeanor cracked. This can't be true. Our sacred texts, our entire history. Jordan placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. I know, but we can't ignore the evidence. They worked through the night, piecing together the fragments of a cosmic puzzle. A story emerged of a long-vanished race that had shaped the very foundations of life in the galaxy. As the implications sank in, Jordan and Axel exchanged a look of shared understanding. This knowledge could tear apart the fragile alliance they'd worked so hard to build. We can't let this get out, Jordan said firmly. Not yet. The shock could destabilize everything. Axel nodded gravely. Agreed. We must learn more before we decide how to proceed. They issued orders to restrict access to the data, sworn to secrecy by both human and Voxari oaths. But as they dug deeper, the mysteries only multiplied. Late one night, as they pored over star charts, Axel let out a startled chirp. Jordan, look at this. Hidden within the ancient data were coordinates, pointing to an unexplored region of space. The annotations hinted at something monumental. Jordan's pulse quickened. You think... Yes, Axel said, his voice tinged with awe. This could be where they went, where they still are. The decision was made in a matter of hours. A joint expedition. A ship unlike any other, built in secret, with the most advanced technology both species could muster. As the Endeavour prepared for launch, Jordan stood on the bridge, gazing out at the stars. Axel approached, his steps hesitant. Are we doing the right thing? The Voxari asked softly. Jordan turned, meeting his friend's alien eyes. I don't know, but we have to find out. The ship's engines hummed to life, and they set course for the unknown. Months passed in the cold void of deep space. The crew, a mix of humans and Voxari, worked and lived together, united in their quest for answers. Jordan spent countless hours in his quarters, wrestling with the weight of their mission, the power they might unleash, the truths that could shatter worlds. Finally, after a journey that seemed endless, alarms blared throughout the ship. They had arrived. Jordan rushed to the bridge, Axel at his side. Through the view screen, they beheld a sight that defied comprehension. A vast structure hung in space, dwarfing their ship, defying the laws of physics. My God, Jordan whispered. Axel's tendrils trembled. The ancestral home. As they cautiously approached, the full scale of the megastructure became apparent. It stretched beyond the limits of their sensors, a labyrinth of impossible geometries and pulsing energy fields. The Endeavour docked, and Jordan led the first expedition team into the alien construct. Each step took them deeper into a treasure trove of knowledge and technology beyond imagining. This could change everything, Jordan said, his voice filled with equal parts wonder and dread. Axel nodded solemnly. The question is, should it? They stood at the precipice of a decision that would shape the future of two civilizations, and perhaps the entire galaxy. The weight of uncounted worlds pressed down upon them as they contemplated their next move. Jordan paced the dimly lit chamber, his footsteps echoing off the impossibly smooth walls of the precursor repository. He ran a hand through his disheveled hair, eyes bloodshot from countless hours of study. Axel's tendrils twitched nervously as he manipulated a holographic interface, sifting through data that could reshape the very foundations of their civilizations. "We have to tell them, Axel," Jordan said, his voice hoarse. "Our people deserve to know the truth." Axel's multifaceted eyes narrowed. "And risk everything we've built? The alliance is still fragile, Jordan. This knowledge could tear it apart." The human scientist banged his head against a nearby console, causing it to flicker. "Damn it, Axel! We're talking about the origins of our species, the very purpose of our existence." "Exactly," Axel replied, his voice low and measured. "Imagine the chaos if we reveal that everything our people believe is a lie, that we're all just pawns in some cosmic experiment." Jordan opened his mouth to argue further, but the words died in his throat. He knew Axel had a point. The silence stretched between them, heavy with the weight of their discovery. Finally, Jordan nodded. "All right, we keep it quiet for now, but we need to know more." They spent the next several days assembling a team, the brightest minds from both their species. Dr. Elena Chen, a brilliant xenobiologist, Crix, a Voxari expert in quantum computing. A dozen others, each sworn to secrecy. The repository's central chamber hummed with activity as the team began their work. Holographic displays flickered to life, filling the air with swirling data streams and alien symbols. Jordan watched as Elena manipulated a 3D model of intertwining DNA strands, human, Voxari, and something else. "It's incredible," Elena breathed. "The precursors didn't just seed life. They engineered it at the most fundamental level." Crix chittered excitedly, his tendrils flying over a console. "The computational power required for this level of genetic manipulation is beyond anything we've ever conceived." As the days turned to weeks, the true scope of the precursor's grand design became clear. Jordan stood before a massive star map, tracing the connections between countless worlds. Each point of light represented a seeded species, a node in a vast living network. "They were trying to unlock the secrets of consciousness itself," he murmured, "to understand the very nature of reality." Axel approached, his steps hesitant. "Jordan, look at this." The Voxari scientist pulled up a series of historical records: wars, plagues, technological leaps. With growing unease, they saw patterns emerge, subtle interventions, guiding the course of their civilizations over millennia. "They've been shaping us all along," Jordan said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Everything we've accomplished, everything we've suffered." Axel's tendrils drooped. It was all part of their plan. The weight of this knowledge pressed down on them, suffocating in its immensity. Jordan found himself questioning every aspect of his existence, every choice he'd ever made. Late one night, as the rest of the team slept, Jordan and Axel huddled around a secure terminal. The ethical implications of their discovery gnawed at them both. "If we reveal this," Axel said, "it could destroy everything our people have built. Their sense of identity, their beliefs." Jordan nodded grimly. "But if we don't, are we any better than the precursors? Playing God, deciding what others should know?" Before Axel could respond, an alarm blared through the chamber. Red warning lights bathed everything in an eerie glow. They rushed to the main console, hearts pounding. "What is it?" Jordan demanded. Crix's tendrils flew over the controls. Some kind of hidden subroutine, it just activated on its own. The holographic displays flickered, coalescing into a single terrifying image. A galactic-scale simulation, showing civilizations rising and falling in the blink of an eye. And at the center, a ticking clock. "By the ancestors," Axel whispered. "It's a failsafe." Jordan's blood ran cold as he realized the implications. If certain conditions are met, it wipes the slate clean, starts the whole experiment over. They stared at each other, the weight of uncounted worlds pressing down upon them. The clock continued its relentless countdown, each tick bringing them closer to an impossible choice. Jordan hit his fist on the table, the holographic display flickering at the impact. We can't just sit here and do nothing. Axel's tendrils writhed with agitation. Agreed, but we must proceed with caution. The wrong move could doom us all. They stood in a dimly lit chamber deep within the Endeavor, surrounded by a small group of their most trusted advisors. Human and Voxari alike, their faces were grim as they contemplated the unthinkable. Dr. Elena Chen spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. If we reveal the truth, the panic could tear our alliance apart. Everything we've built. And if we don't, countered Crix, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming in the low light, we risk losing everything to this reset. Jordan paced the room, his footsteps echoing in the tense silence. He stopped abruptly, turning to face the group. We go in, a small team, our best operatives. We find this central nexus and we shut it down. Axel's multifaceted eyes blinked rapidly as he processed the idea. It's risky, but it may be our only choice. The room erupted in hushed debate. Jordan caught snippets of conversation. Suicide mission, technological gap, unknown defenses. He raised his hand, silencing the group. I know it's dangerous, but we can't let fear paralyze us. Who's with me? One by one, hands and tendrils raised in agreement. Jordan nodded, a grim smile on his face. All right, let's get to work. The next few days were a blur of activity. Jordan and Axel pored over star charts, plotting a course through uncharted space. Engineers worked around the clock, modifying their fastest ship with cutting-edge stealth technology. As the departure date approached, Jordan found himself in the ship's hangar, staring up at the sleek vessel that would carry them into the unknown. A familiar voice called out behind him. Thought I'd find you here, you crazy bastard. Jordan turned to see Jake Ryder, his old friend and the best pilot in the fleet, sauntering towards him. Jake, what are you doing here? Jake grinned, slapping Jordan on the back. You think I'd let you fly off on some half-cocked mission without me? Not a chance. Relief washed over Jordan. With Jake at the helm, their chances just got a whole lot better. The day of launch arrived. Jordan stood on the bridge, surrounded by his hand-picked team. A mix of human and Voxari operatives, each the best in their field. Axel's tendrils danced over the controls, running final system checks. All systems go, Axel reported. We're ready for launch. Jordan took a deep breath, looking out at the stars beyond the view screen. Take us out, Jake. Nice and easy. The ship glided out of the hangar, its stealth systems engaged. As they cleared the docking area, Jake's hands flew over the controls. Hang on to your tentacles, folks. This is where the fun begins. The engines roared to life and they shot into the depths of space. Jordan watched as familiar star systems gave way to the blank canvas of uncharted territory. Months passed in the cold void, the crew working tirelessly to prepare for whatever lay ahead. Finally, after what seemed an eternity, alarms blared throughout the ship. Jordan rushed to the bridge, heart pounding. Report! Axel's tendrils trembled as he manipulated the sensors. We've arrived at the coordinates. And Jordan, you need to see this. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that defied comprehension. A massive structure hung in space, dwarfing their ship. Its geometry seemed to shift and warp, defying the laws of physics. The central nexus, Jordan breathed. As they approached, the true scale of the construct became apparent. It stretched beyond the limits of their sensors, a labyrinth of impossible angles and pulsing energy fields. How do we even begin to infiltrate that thing? Jake muttered, his usual bravado subdued. Jordan squared his shoulders, meeting the eyes of each crew member in turn. We find a way. We have to. The fate of every living being in the galaxy depends on it. With a nod to Jake, they began their approach. The ship's stealth systems strained against the Nexus' formidable defenses. Alarms blared as they narrowly avoided detection, weaving through a maze of automated sentries. "There!" Axel called out, his tendrils pointing to a faint anomaly in the Nexus outer shell. "A potential entry point." Jake's hands flew over the controls, guiding the ship towards the opening with preternatural skill. They slipped inside, the vastness of the Nexus interior opening up before them. As they docked in a hidden alcove, Jordan turned to his team. "This is it. We find the fail-safe mechanism and we shut it down, whatever it takes." They disembarked, weapons at the ready, venturing into the heart of the precursor's domain. The corridors seemed to shift and change around them, a dizzying array of alien technology beyond their comprehension. Suddenly a voice echoed through the chamber, unlike anything they had ever heard. "Intruders, you do not belong here." Jordan and Axel exchanged a look of shock as a group of figures emerged from the shadows. Their forms were fluid, constantly shifting, yet undeniably alive. One stepped forward, its features coalescing into a vaguely humanoid shape. "I am Xandar, and you have made a grave mistake coming here." Jordan raised his hands slowly, his mind racing. "We're not here to fight. We're here to stop the failsafe, to save our people, and yours." Xandar's form rippled, surprise evident in its ever-changing features. "You know of the failsafe? Impossible." "Not impossible," Axel interjected, his tendrils twitching nervously. "We discovered the truth about our origins, about the experiment. We can't let it all be wiped away." A tense silence fell over the chamber as Xandar studied them intently. Finally, it spoke. Perhaps we are not so different after all." Jordan felt a glimmer of hope. "Then you'll help us." Xandar's form shimmered, resolving into a more solid shape. "We will, but the path ahead is fraught with danger. Are you prepared for what must be done?" Jordan looked to his team, seeing the same drive reflected in their eyes. Human, Voxari, and now these renegade precursors. He nodded firmly. "We're ready. Let's end this once and for all." Together, this unlikely alliance set off deeper into the Nexus, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead in their quest to disable the failsafe and secure the future of the galaxy. The explosion rocked the central Nexus, shockwaves rippling through its impossible geometry. Jordan gripped a twisted metal strut as the structure shuddered around them. Axel's tendrils whipped frantically, securing their footing. "It's done," Jordan breathed, watching the fail-safe mechanism crumble into a shower of sparks. "We actually did it." But their victory was short-lived. As they made their way back to the ship, alarms blared. Jake's voice crackled over the comm. "We've got a problem. Xandar's group just took off with a bunch of tech. They're running." Jordan cursed, sprinting towards the hangar. "Track them. We can't let that technology fall into the wrong hands." What followed was a grueling pursuit through uncharted space. Days blurred together as they pushed their ship to its limits, following the fading trail of Xandar's vessel. Jordan barely slept, his eyes constantly scanning sensor readouts. Finally, they caught up, but the sight that greeted them sent chills down Jordan's spine. Xandar's ship drifted lifelessly, gaping holes torn in its hull. "My God," Jake whispered as they approached. "What happened here?" They boarded with weapons drawn, the silence broken only by the crackle of damaged systems. Bodies littered the corridors, Xandar's followers, their fluid forms frozen in death. In the command center, they found Xandar. The precursor's form flickered weakly, barely holding its shape. Dark fluid pooled beneath him. "Jordan," Xandar rasped. "You came." Jordan knelt beside him, trying to stem the flow of alien blood. "Who did this, Xandar? What happened?" Xandar's form shimmered, his voice growing fainter. "We were betrayed. Rogue precursors, broken from the collective. They seek power, domination." Jordan leaned closer, straining to hear. Xandar's final words chilled him to the bone. "They've already begun infiltrating, manipulating. They want to reset everything. You must stop them." With a final flicker, Xandar's form dissolved, leaving Jordan and Axel alone with the horrifying truth. The journey back to Alliance space was tense, filled with frantic planning. As soon as they docked, Jordan called an emergency meeting of the highest-ranking human and Voxari officials. "I know it sounds insane," Jordan said, pacing before the assembled leaders. "But we have to act now. These rogue precursors are already moving against us." Admiral Chen, her face lined with worry, spoke up. "How can we be sure? This is an extraordinary claim, Jordan." Before Jordan could respond, a young aide burst into the room. "Forgive the interruption, but you need to see this." The holographic display flickered to life, showing news reports from across both human and Voxari space. Jordan's heart sank as he read the headlines. "Prominent scientist found dead in lab. Military base attacked. Key personnel missing. Voxari council member assassinated." The room erupted in chaos. Jordan raised his voice above the din. "This is what we're up against. We need to form a task force now. Our best operatives working together to root out this threat." Hours of heated debate followed, but in the end, they agreed. Jordan and Axel found themselves leading a crack team of humans and Voxari, all sworn to secrecy. Their first major breakthrough came weeks later. After a series of covert operations, they managed to capture a rogue precursor agent. The creature's fluid form writhed against its restraints as Jordan entered the interrogation room. "Why are you doing this?" Jordan demanded. "What's your endgame?" The agent's form rippled, its voice a sibilant hiss. "You cannot stop us. We will tear your pathetic alliance apart from within, and then we will reset it all." Jordan leaned in, his voice low and dangerous. "How?" A cruel laugh bubbled from the agent. "We already have the means, a device to corrupt the failsafe. We'll wipe you out and start anew." As Jordan stormed out of the room, his mind raced. They had to find that device, and fast. But even as he gathered his team, reports flooded in of growing tensions between humans and Voxari. Axel approached, his tendrils twitching nervously. "Jordan, we have a problem. My people, they're starting to question the alliance. Rumors are spreading, mistrust is growing." Jordan nodded grimly. "Same on our side. We're being played against each other." He looked out at the stars, knowing the enemy was out there, waiting. They had to move fast, before it was too late. The hunt for the rogue precursor's base began in earnest, even as the fragile alliance they'd fought so hard to build threatened to crumble around them. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Jordan smacked his palm on the control panel, watching helplessly as reports flooded in from across human and Voxari space. Terrorist attacks, assassinations, and sabotage, all carefully orchestrated by the rogue precursors. "Damn it," he growled, turning to Axel. "We're losing control." Axel's tendrils writhed in agitation. "Our leaders won't listen. They're too caught up in their own fear and paranoia." A priority alert flashed on the main screen. Jordan's blood ran cold as he read the message. "No, they've taken the Terra Nova research station and the Voxari military outpost on Nexus Prime." Before they could process this, the air shimmered. A holographic projection materialized in the center of the room, a scene of carnage and destruction. Human soldiers, their faces twisted in hate, gunning down Voxari civilians. The timestamp indicated it was happening right now. "That's impossible," Jordan breathed. "Our forces aren't anywhere near that sector." Another projection flickered to life. This time, Voxari war machines laying waste to a human colony. Axel recoiled in horror. "No! We would never!" The projections multiplied, filling the room with scenes of atrocity after atrocity. Jordan realized with sickening clarity what was happening. It's all fake. The precursors are using their tech to create false flag attacks. Alarms blared throughout the station. Jordan rushed to the comms station, frantically hailing both human and Voxari command centers. "This is Jordan Chen. You're being manipulated. Stand down all forces immediately." His pleas fell on deaf ears. On every channel, voices clamored for retaliation. The carefully nurtured alliance was unraveling before his eyes. A garbled transmission cut through the chaos. Jake's voice, strained and filled with pain. "Jordan, they've got me. The Voxari. They think I'm... The transmission cut off abruptly. Jordan's heart seized. Jake! Jake! He whirled to face Axel. We have to get him out of there. Axel's tendrils drooped. It's too late. My people. They won't listen to reason now. For hours, they worked tirelessly, trying to stem the tide of violence and mistrust. But with each passing moment, the situation spiraled further out of control. Military vessels from both sides took up aggressive postures. Civilian unrest spread like wildfire. Jordan stared out at the stars, feeling the weight of failure crushing down on him. Axel approached, his usual vibrant color dulled by exhaustion and despair. We have no choice, Axel said quietly. We must strike at the source. Jordan nodded grimly. The precursor base. It's our only shot at ending this before it's too late. They gathered a small team of loyalists, humans and Voxari who still believed in the Alliance. As they prepared to embark on their desperate mission, Jordan took one last look at the sensor readings showing fleets mobilizing on both sides. Hold on, Jake, he whispered. We're coming for you. Their ship slipped away from the station, cloaking systems engaged. As they set course for the uncharted nebula, Jordan knew the fate of two civilizations, and countless others, rested on their shoulders. The nebula loomed before them, a roiling mass of cosmic dust and energy. Somewhere within its depths lay the rogue precursor base, and their last hope for salvation. All hands, prepare for combat, Jordan ordered, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his gut. We're going in.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.